Welcome back to the Calabash Diaries, where Africa's past comes alive. Today, we journey into the heart of ancient Nigeria to uncover a civilization wrapped in mystery, sculpted in clay, and powered by fire, the Nok. Who were they? Why did they leave behind haunting terracotta faces, but no written words? And why did their story end so abruptly? Join us as we travel through their origins, their mastery of iron, their artistic brilliance, and the puzzle of their disappearance. The Nok people thrived between 1000 BCE and 300 CE in the fertile valleys of central Nigeria, clustered around the Jos Plateau, Nasarawa, Bauchi, and its heartland, Kaduna State. Their name comes from the village of Nok, where miners first stumbled upon terracotta fragments in 1928, but their true beginnings stretch far deeper. Archaeologists believe the Nok story begins with climate change. Around 3000 BCE, the Sahara, once lush with rivers and grasslands, began to dry into deserts. This forced pastoralist and farming groups southward, carrying with them seeds, tools, and traditions. Some of these migrants settled in central Nigeria, where the plateau offered rich soils, forests, and streams. What makes the Nok unique is their deliberate settlement choices. Many Nok sites lie close to iron ore deposits and clay-rich soils, the two very elements that would define their identity: fire and clay. This suggests they weren't just drifting migrants, but purposeful settlers, positioning themselves where they could smelt iron and sculpt terracotta. Archaeological digs reveal that the earliest Nok settlements were carefully organized. Hearth, furnaces, and potting areas were set apart from homes, pointing to a community that already understood division of labor. The presence of slag mounds, waste from iron smelting, proves that from the very beginning, Nok society was rooted in transformation, turning stone into iron, clay into spirit. Local oral traditions passed down in fragments still recall them. Some Hausa storytellers speak of the Mutanen Wuta da Laka, people of fire and clay. Others recall tales of a people who spoke to earth and made it human, a likely reference to the terracotta statues. While these are not direct records of the Nok, they are echoes, cultural memory surviving across centuries, woven into the identity of later peoples of the region. Even their name carries mystery. Nok comes from the village where miners accidentally unearthed a terracotta head in the 1920s, but the people themselves left no known word for who they were. They had no written script, no recorded king lists. All we know of them comes from soil, stone, fire, and memory. The Nok's most iconic legacy is their terracotta art. These sculptures, often human heads with striking triangular eyes and elaborate hairstyles, stand among the oldest artistic traditions in sub-Saharan Africa. Each Nok terracotta is a puzzle, and no two are alike. Archaeologists have uncovered hundreds of figures, from life-sized heads to miniature statuettes, scattered across central Nigeria. Many were found buried in fields or along riverbeds, often by accident during tin mining in the 20th century. Close study reveals extraordinary detail. Hairstyles intricately braided, eyes carved as triangles or slits, and mouths shaped in open expressions as if mid-speech or song. Some figures are seated, others standing in ritual poses, suggesting a symbolic role in ceremonies. The function of these terracottas remains debated. Some scholars argue they were ancestor figures, physical vessels linking the living with the dead. Others suggest they were protective guardians, placed near homes or shrines to ward off danger. A number have been found in burial contexts, pointing to their use as grave markers or spiritual companions for the dead. Archaeologists have noted tiny perforations in ears, nostrils, or mouths. These may have once held organic materials like feathers, beads, or even hair, long since decayed. It hints at a more colorful, multi-material art tradition that terracotta alone cannot show us today. Even more intriguing are figures that depict physical ailments. Some statues show swollen limbs, facial deformities, or signs resembling diseases like elephantiasis. This has led researchers to believe the terracottas may have been tied to healing rituals, where illness was externalized through art and then ritually treated or neutralized. But the artistry goes beyond religion. The technical process itself was complex. The clay was carefully prepared, mixed with grog, crushed pottery, to prevent cracking during firing. Many pieces show evidence of controlled firing temperatures, proof that Nok artisans had mastered kiln technology a millennium before similar techniques appeared in parts of Europe. This attention to clay has echoes today. In central Nigeria, traditional potters still prepare clay with ritual steps, fetching it at dawn, mixing it with water from specific streams, and offering libations before shaping it. While we cannot say these are direct survivals from Nok times, the continuity of practice whispers of a cultural memory spanning nearly 2,000 years. Perhaps the greatest mystery is why so many terracottas were deliberately broken. Archaeologists suspect a ritual killing of the figures, ensuring their spirit was released once their purpose was fulfilled. These shattered fragments, buried in pits or scattered in fields, are reminders that Nok art was never just decoration. It was alive, powerful, and sacred. The Nok were among the earliest known people in sub-Saharan Africa to master iron smelting, a technology that transformed their world and set the stage for later West African kingdoms. Archaeological digs across central Nigeria, particularly at Taruga and Samundukia, have uncovered furnaces, tuyeres, clay pipes for airflow, and slag heaps that prove the Nok were working with iron as early as 600 BCE. Some evidence even suggests experimentation began centuries earlier, possibly rivaling or predating Mediterranean iron traditions. The furnaces themselves were feats of engineering. Built from clay and stone, they stood as tall, cylindrical structures with carefully placed air vents. Charcoal was layered with iron ore inside, and once ignited, teams of workers pumped air through the tuyeres, reaching temperatures of nearly 1,200 degrees Celsius. At that heat, the iron separated from impurities, leaving behind solid blooms that could be hammered into tools or weapons. But smelting was never just a technical act. It was a sacred one. Many furnaces were found buried near ritual sites or alongside terracotta figurines, suggesting spiritual oversight. Oral traditions in later Nigerian societies describe ironworkers as keepers of fire, both feared and revered. They were thought to command powers that could give life through farming tools, or take it away through weapons. It's possible the Nok shared these beliefs, treating blacksmiths as semi-priests, mediators between earth and spirit. Interestingly, slag, the waste product of smelting, was not simply discarded. In some Nok sites, slag mounds were arranged deliberately, as though marking territory or sacred ground. This hints that ironworking was woven into community identity, not hidden away, but celebrated as a source of pride. The Nok's choice of settlement also reinforces their metallurgical genius. Many villages were located close to both iron ore deposits and hardwood forests, providing fuel for furnaces. This suggests long-term planning, an early industrial economy based on resource control. What did they use this iron for? excavated tools include hoes, axes, and knives, proof of advanced farming and woodworking. Weapons, arrowheads, spears, and blades show they were also preparing for defense and perhaps expansion. Compared to stone or bronze, iron tools would have revolutionized daily life, making Nok fields more productive and Nok warriors more formidable. Some archaeologists propose that Nok iron smelting was not only local innovation, but also radiated outward. Later, West African powers, from the Yoruba city-states to the kingdoms of Benin and Ife, built upon foundations the Nok may have laid. It's no coincidence that iron remains deeply sacred in these cultures, linked to gods of war, hunting, and blacksmithing. Even today, blacksmiths in central Nigeria perform rituals before firing a furnace, offering kola nuts, millet beer, or animal sacrifices to ensure success. Such customs echo back to Nok furnaces, reminding us that for the Nok, iron was not cold metal. It was fire, breath, and power. Life in Nok villages was simple, yet sophisticated. Round mud huts with thatched roofs dotted the landscape. Millet, sorghum, and yams filled granaries, while goats and cattle grazed on nearby fields. Archaeological evidence suggests a layered society: farmers, artisans, spiritual leaders, and blacksmiths, each with defined roles. Burials with terracotta figures reveal that status mattered, but the community held it all together. Pottery fragments show traces of grains, beans, and even early fermented beverages. Scholars also believe initiation rituals marked key stages of life, with terracotta figurines serving as spiritual witnesses. The Nok were skilled farmers. They cultivated sorghum, millet, and yams, using shifting cultivation to protect soil fertility. They also raised goats, sheep, and cattle, food that anchored their survival. Charred grains unearthed from Nok sites reveal something remarkable: early experimentation with African rice. Some terracotta figurines were found buried in fields, possibly fertility charms to ensure good harvests. Farming was not just labor, it was sacred. Each seed carried a prayer for survival. The Nok weren't simply farmers or blacksmiths. They were thinkers, dreamers, and creators. Their terracotta sculptures reveal a symbolic language, abstract yet deeply meaningful. Religion likely revolved around ancestors, nature, and protective spirits. The triangular eye motif of Nok sculptures appears centuries later in Yoruba masks, evidence of cultural continuity. Small terracotta figurines may have been used in initiation rituals for children, teaching them identity and belonging. Some pieces even depict illnesses, perhaps used by healers as teaching models. An ancient blend of medicine and art. Then suddenly, around 200 to 300 CE, the Nok vanished. Villages emptied, furnaces went cold, and terracotta figures lay abandoned beneath the soil. Archaeology shows us a ghost story written in earth. Excavations at Nok sites reveal abrupt breaks in occupation layers. Charcoal remains that once testified to roaring furnaces are suddenly absent, and storage pits that once held grain are found empty and filled with wind-blown dust. Radiocarbon dating confirms that this silence descended within a narrow window of just a few generations. So why did they disappear? Soil studies from the Jos Plateau tell part of the story. Layers of compacted earth show signs of overfarming, a stripping of nutrients caused by centuries of cultivation without fallow. Combined with deforestation for furnace charcoal, the landscape may have become fragile. Then came the climate. Pollen samples trapped in ancient sediments suggest a sharp, prolonged dry period around the early centuries CE. Crops failed, rivers shrank, and famine may have followed. But archaeology alone cannot answer everything. Oral traditions in central Nigeria, still whispered by griots and elders, speak of the people of fire and clay who angered the spirits of the land. In one tale, Nok villages burned too many trees, wounding the earth, and the ancestors cursed them with hunger. Another tradition tells of a great exodus, blacksmiths and farmers scattering in different directions, carrying with them fragments of Nok culture that would later resurface in other societies. Some scholars also suggest conflict. A few sites show signs of hasty abandonment, broken pots, scattered tools, furnaces left mid-use. Was it an invasion? Internal strife? Perhaps both. One oral account tells of masked raiders descending from the north, driving the Nok into exile. Archaeological finds of arrowheads and burned hut floors lend some weight to these stories. Yet even in silence, the Nok left whispers of continuity. Certain ironworking techniques in Yoruba, Igbo, and Nupe traditions bear striking resemblance to Nok furnace styles, as though their knowledge lived on through displaced descendants. Likewise, motifs in terracotta art from later West African cultures echo Nok's triangular eyes and elaborate hairstyles, hinting at cultural memory passed through generations. So, did the Nok truly vanish? Or did they dissolve into the bloodstream of West Africa, leaving behind no single kingdom, but instead seeding many? This is the enduring mystery. Their terracottas sleep beneath the soil, their furnaces lie cold, but their spirit, part archaeology, part oral echo, still lingers like smoke after fire. Though the Nok disappeared, their legacy echoed across West Africa. They pioneered iron, sculpted Africa's first great terracottas, and laid cultural foundations that lived on in the Yoruba, Hausa, and Benin civilizations. Today, Nok terracottas are celebrated worldwide, but looting threatens this heritage. UNESCO has listed them as treasures, and Nigerian law protects every fragment as part of national memory. Modern Nigerian sculptors often draw directly from Nok styles, proof that the fire of Nok art never truly went out. The Nok were Africa's hidden architects of fire and clay. Their terracotta faces look at us across 2,500 years, whispering stories of a people who shaped the Iron Age before fading into mystery. They may have vanished, but their spirit breathes on, in the soil, in the art, in the very identity of West Africa. This has been the Calabash Diaries. Tell us, which lost African civilization should we uncover next? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because here, our past is power.